What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be doing a review and tutorial of the new Huda Beauty New Nude palette. Now, I have to tell you guys that this has been one of the most anticipated launches for me in all of 2018. When I first saw a picture of this palette, which feels like it was ages ago, I was so excited. I fell in love immediately, and I'm just like, I can't wait for this palette to come out. I can't wait for this palette to come out. It looks so gorgeous, and it's finally here. I got it in my hot little hands during the Sephora VIB Rouge sale, and I am so excited to share with you my thoughts on this palette because it's very exciting. Just before we get into today's video, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button before you leave, and if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. All right, I'm so excited, so let's go ahead and just jump right into the video. If you want to see my review, swatches, and tutorial using the new Huda Beauty New Nude palette, keep watching. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the palette. The outside of the carton looks like this, and it is the exact same packaging as the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette. So they're the same size, they're the same number of shadows, and they actually stack up nicely like books, and they have the names of the palettes written on the spine like that. That might seem like a funny little thing to like, but I don't know, I just like when palettes are the same size and they stack up nicely and they look the same and they feel the same. I really love the Desert Dusk palette, so when I saw that the New Nude palette was the same, I was like, okay, I mean, this is gonna be good, right? So we'll see. So there is quite a difference in the color stories between the two palettes. So this is the New Nude palette, and as you can see, there's a lot of pinks and purples, and it's really light and sort of muted and understated. There's nothing in here that's like crazy. There's no crazy colors, there's no green, there's no blue, there's no bright yellow or bright orange. Everything is really nice, sort of muted natural tones, and the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette is kind of the opposite of that, where there's a lot of bright colors in here. Sorry, mine's like kind of messy, a little loved. But yeah, it's just a lot darker and it's a lot more smoky and a lot more playful. So I'm just gonna put the two palettes side by side for you here. So as you can see, they're really different, but both beautiful palettes nonetheless. So getting into the actual composition of the palette, most of the shades in this palette are matte shades, but we do have one concealer down here. And this is actually meant to be used as a concealer that you would use on your eyes. So not necessarily on the face, but it's meant to be used as an eyelid primer as well as to cut the crease. Then there are 10 matte shades in here, and the mattes are just meant to be blended out onto the eyelids. There are 4 multi-reflective pressed pigments, and that's these 4 right here. And when I first opened this palette and like actually looked at it with my own eyes, it was really interesting, those shades, because they look like they have these chunky sort of flecks in them. Like, this is a pink shade, but there's flecks of white in there, and I just really wasn't sure like how these shades were going to look. So you will definitely see what they look like when I swatch them for you. Then there is one pressed pearl shade, and that is the shade Kinky right here. And then there are 2 glitter formulas in here. That's these 2 shades right here. And the glitter is actually meant to be used as a proper glitter. So you're not supposed to sort of dip your brush into these and try and wipe it onto your eyes, because it's not going to work. The glitter's just going to go everywhere and it's not going to stick. The glitter is actually meant to be used with a glitter glue and sort of pressed onto the eyes. So you will see how that works later on when you see the tutorial of how I got this look right here. I'm wearing a little bit of this glitter right here called Infatuated, and it's the same sort of glitter that's in the Huda Beauty Desert Dusk palette, and that's this one right here. That's the shade Cosmo. Same thing, it's very loosely pressed into the pan, and it's meant to be used basically the same way that you would use a loose glitter. So I'm gonna show you up close swatches of this palette right away, but I do want to show you some live swatches on camera just so that you can see how these shadows perform. So I think I'm gonna just do these 3 right here. So this is Lace, Daydream, and Tickle, and these 2 are matte shades, and this is one of the multi-reflective pressed pigment shades. So as you can see, I'm just gonna go 1, 2, 3 like that, and as you can see, these shades are incredibly pigmented. Lace might have been a stupid one to use because, oh no, holy crap, wow. So I actually thought that first shade Lace wasn't going to show up on my skin, but it actually shows up really beautifully. And as you can see, this shade Daydream in the middle is absolutely gorgeous. That's what I'm wearing on most of my lid here. And then the shade Tickle on top as well. So as you can see, these shades are incredibly pigmented. They're so soft, and I'm so impressed with the formula. Like, I feel like there's even an improvement over the formula of the Desert Dust palette, and I absolutely love that palette. I think it's amazing. So I'm gonna show you close-up swatches right away. So let's go ahead and get into that. Okay, so here are the first 6 shades. This is the top row. Starting from left to right, we have Bare, and then Crave, that beautiful gold reflective shade. Then Play, Fantasy, which is the sparkly pink shade, Love Bite, and Spanked. And here is the second row. From left to right, we have Lace, Daydream, Tickle, the 2 glitter shades, which are Excite and Infatuated, and Kinky. And this is the last row. The shade on the left is Concealed, which is that concealer that you can barely see on me. Then we have Secret, Tease, Raw, Charmed, and Teddy. So as you can see, the shades in this palette are absolutely beautiful. I think you guys already know what my final thoughts are going to be on this palette before we even get into it, because I'm like gushing over this palette so much. I just love all of the colors in this palette, and I think it's so, so beautiful. So let's go ahead and get into the tutorial so that you can see how I created this look right here. Before I sat down and filmed the tutorial, I just wanted to let you guys know that I had not touched any of the shades in the palette. I hadn't swatched them with my finger. I hadn't touched them at all. So it is a true first impressions. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and dip into the palette. Now, normally before going in with any eyeshadow, I would always prime my eyelids with something like this, the Smashbox eye primer or my Milani eye primer. But the directions of this palette say to use the concealer that's in the palette as a base for your shadow. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that just with a little tiny precision brush. I'm going to dip into the shade Concealed. It's very like thick. Okay. It definitely feels a lot more, I don't know, just kind of like sticky than what I would normally use for an eye primer. Kind of reminds me of like the MAC paint pots a little bit. There we go. Yeah, it feels a little tacky. Anyways, I don't like this as much as an eye primer because I feel like I have to be a lot more specific about where I'm putting it and like make it look nice. I'm actually lucky because I have a fair skin tone that this concealer actually works for me, but I can't see this working for people of color. So that's, you know, kind of interesting and a little bit stupid, but to set that concealer down, I'm going to go into the shade Bare and just put that all over the lid just to take away some of that stickiness and set that primer down. Just so you guys know, I have not dipped into any of these shadows yet. I have not touched this palette until right now. This is the first time I'm going in with all the shades. So it is an actual true first impressions. Okay, so now that the base is done, the first shade I'm going to go in with is the shade Play. And this is like kind of a peachy shade. I'm going to try and use as many shades as possible for this look. This one is going on really, really beautifully. I'm going to turn down my ring light a little bit because I feel like now that I'm just getting back into the swing of things with filming, I'm like sort of forgetting all of the memorized settings that I had for my ring light and like sort of how bright it's supposed to look on my monitor and everything. So these next couple of videos might be a little wonky in terms of lighting and in terms of like me being out of the frame and stuff like that. This is also a buildable shade, it looks like. So just gonna add a little bit more. Okay, so the next shade that I'm gonna go in with is called Tickle. I'm gonna do sort of a pink rosy look today. And I'm just gonna put this in the crease kind of right over top of that Play shade that I just went in with. These are so soft and they're blending out so nicely. I am really impressed. There's a ton of dust up though, so you just have to be really careful. Like as you can see when I'm like kind of pressing into it, there's a lot of fallout. So this is also the type of palette where you might want to consider doing your eyes first. And then going back into that Play shade, I'm just gonna go back up over top and blend this out. So continuing on, I'm gonna go into the shade Spanked, and that's just a little bit of a darker mauve color. And I'm just gonna put that a little lower in the crease, kind of right underneath that Play shade. I'm using a Morphe M441 brush for all these shades, just so you guys know. And I'm just gonna go back in with a little bit more. The thing I love about these matte shades is that they seem really buildable. Like they're pigmented, but they don't go on kind of crazy at first. They go on softly and it's very easy to build them up. So I think for the very outer corner, I'm gonna try the shade Tease first. It's a little bit of more of a muted brown shade. So I'm gonna try that one in the outer corner. And I'm also interested in this shade Love Bite, which is like a really like vibrant, deep purple color. So I do want to try going in with a little bit of that to see what it looks like. I don't want to make this look too colorful, like or too bright pink. I do want it to be kind of muted and a little bit more blush, but I don't know, I'm just in love with all these colors, so I want to try as many as I can. Okay, so I'm really liking the way that this is looking so far, and these shadows are blending out beautifully. I can't say enough about these matte shadows. They are so nice, and that concealer seemed to really work well as a base. None of my shadows are getting stuck on it. It's not patchy. Everything looks pretty smooth and blended out. So now I'm gonna go back into the shade Concealed, because it also says that you can use the concealer to kind of cut the crease as well and put the more glittery shadows over top. So I'm gonna go back in with that little precision flat brush that I was working with before. I'm not gonna do a full cut crease, but I am gonna cut the crease just about halfway. Now I will say that this concealer is a little hard to work with to cut the crease, just because it is so sticky. Like I'm kind of used to, you know, cutting the crease with a concealer that has a little bit more of a liquid formula, so I'm finding it hard to kind of drag this concealer in the way that I normally would. Okay, so I probably would not use that concealer to do a cut crease again. It was really difficult to work with, it was difficult to blend out on the sides, and it was difficult to get a really precise line with it because it's so sticky and it's hard to move and drag around. And there was a lot of transfer of like pink shadows on my brush into the concealer pan when I had to dip back in for more. So that wasn't my favorite. I did like it as a base though. So I'm just gonna go back in and blend out the edges of this concealer a little bit, just to get a little bit more of the look that I want. I mean, like at the end of the day, it didn't really do anything. All right, so I am really excited to dip into the next shadow because it is the shade Daydream, and it's like this sort of reflective, chunky, pressed pigment kind of a thing. This is what they call a multi-reflective shade, and it says, for a subtle light diffusing look, blend into mattes, apply over a base or a bare lid for an understated pearlescent glow, apply with the Fender blender, which I didn't buy, or your finger dipped in setting spray for maximum shine. Dipped in setting spray. I'm gonna go in with a bare finger first, just to see how it looks, but oh my god, that looks beautiful. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It's weird because you wouldn't expect that color to come out based on like what it looks like in the pan. So I find that really interesting, but woo, that is so nice. Please be good, please be good. Oh my god, that is so pretty. Oh, I love that. Oh, that is so pretty. Okay, so I'm just gonna blend that out a little bit. Now I'm just gonna go back into the shade Tease because for me, I really do like a darker outer corner, and that is like the one thing that I saw when I looked at this palette, was that there isn't a lot of darker shades. There's like basically two here that I would consider to be darker shades, and they're not even that dark. But I guess this is supposed to be a nude palette, so I shouldn't really complain that there's nothing like super dark and smoky in here. Okay, so then I'm gonna go into the shade Crave, which is like sort of a beautiful goldish kind of color, and I just want to see what that's gonna look like kind of in the middle. This is one of those shades that I feel like would be absolutely gorgeous all over the lid. These are so reflective and gorgeous. Oh my gosh, I am obsessed. So I do want to go in with a little bit of glitter because like, how can you not? I mean, like, you have to. So I'm gonna put a little bit of the Too Faced glitter glue on the back of my hand because it definitely says that you need a glitter base to go with these shades. And I'm just gonna do a really tiny bit just in the center of the lid and moving towards the inner corner, because I just want to see, oh my god, I just want a little bit of extra pop. I mean, those reflective pigment shades were already shiny and sparkly enough as it is, and I feel like I have really high standards when it comes to that, because I love, love, love a reflective shiny lid. And I feel like those were amazing. So I don't want to go too ham here with the glitter. That is so sparkly and shiny. I love it. Oh my god. Okay, so now for the lower lash line. Again, there's not a lot of super dark shades in here, but I'm going to go into the shade Tease. The shade Love Bite is dark, but I don't want like bright purple on the lash line for this look. Just spreading that along the lower lash line, and already I can see that the fallout situation is serious. So when you're doing the lower lash line, just really make sure that you tap off your brush. These shades are really pigmented too, so you might want to put some powder underneath your lower lash line. I've been kind of going ham lately on the lower lash line. I like to bring it down like pretty far. And now with a little precision blending brush, I'm gonna go back into the shade Tickle with a little bit of Spanked and blend out the lower lash line. Okay, and then I'm just going to do one final blend here. Okay, so that is the finished look for the shades that I'm going to use out of this palette. Another thing that I noticed about this palette is that it doesn't have any brow bone highlight shades or inner corner shades that I like. You could use the shade Bare potentially as a brow bone highlight, because I do like the way that a matte white looks underneath the brows. And if I was going for a more understated look, I might do that. Like if I was just doing like sort of a soft wash of pink in the crease and a little bit of shimmer on the lid, I might do a matte white on the brow bone. But because this is so glittery and so shiny, I don't feel like that is gonna cut it. So I am really impressed with all of the shades that I used in the palette so far. I really like the way this look is turning out, and I love the shimmer. Like I am so impressed with those shimmer shades, and I really love the glitter as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this look off camera. I'm going to add a little bit of brow bone highlight and inner corner highlight from another palette. I'm gonna add some eyeliner, some mascara and falsies, and then also put some lips on, probably a really super nude glossy lip, as I always do. So when I come back, I will show you the finished look with all of that on, and also give you my final thoughts. Okay, so here is the finished look with lashes and liner, and I also did smoke out the lower lash line a little bit more with that Tease shade. I just like a little bit of a darker lash line. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. And then I also added some brow bone highlight and some inner corner highlight, and I have to tell you guys, I am in love with the way this look turned out. This is exactly the type of look that I like to wear. I love like sort of soft pink on the eyes with this super shimmery lid. And then the lip combo I used was just a little bit of the MAC Subculture lip pencil, and then I put some gloss on top. This is the Cocoa by Kylie Cosmetics gloss. This is in the shade Damn Gina, which is one of my favorites. I love it. It's super shiny, looks really nice on the lips, and I think it really complements this look well. But yeah, this is the finished look. I am so happy with how it turned out. I'm such a fan of this palette. So let's go ahead and get into my final thoughts. Okay, so now moving into my final thoughts, I think you guys know what I'm gonna say. I love this palette. I think it is so beautiful, and I am so impressed with how the shadows performed. I think this look turned out beautiful, and I absolutely love the color story in this palette. I love all the shades. I love the glitters. I love, love, love the pressed pigments. The mattes blended out beautifully, and overall, it's just a really great palette. Are there a few things that I would change about this palette? Yes, of course. No palette is perfect, and I think the main thing is that the concealer shade in this palette, I don't feel like does very much. It doesn't really work to cut the crease, at least in my opinion, and for my level of makeup technique. I'm sure for some of the more experienced artists on YouTube, they're able to work with this concealer, but for me, it was just too difficult to work with. I did like it as a base for the shadows, but I feel like that can also be achieved with a regular eye primer, so I just felt like the concealer didn't really need to be in here. I do like the idea though. I think that it's new and innovative. Nobody else has tried to put a concealer in a palette like this before, so kudos to Huda Beauty for actually thinking of that. But to me, it was just a little bit of a miss. And the second thing is that I would like more lighter shades in here and darker shades in here. I think that all of the tones are a little bit medium toned. There's only one sort of matte white shade up here and a little bit of a lighter peach shade, but everything else is kind of in the same shade range. Sort of like a medium toned shade, and I would appreciate like something that I could use as a brow bone highlight or an inner corner highlight. This is a little bit too gold, and the rest of them, the shimmery shades, are a little bit too dark. And I would like a couple of darker shades. I know that this is supposed to be a nude palette, not a smoky palette, but this shade and this shade Tease are sort of the only deeper shades, and I would have liked something that was just one shade darker. Honestly, other than that, these shades are beautiful. The formula is beautiful, and it is a really beautiful palette, and I absolutely think it's worth the $85. I also think that you could do a lot of different looks with this palette. I love that it has like these more purpley tones in here, and then there's the more red tones, and then there's some gold tones in here as well. So if you want to see me do another look with this palette, leave me a comment down below. I would love to try this out again. And also it goes towards what I'm going to be talking about on my channel a lot more, and that is using palettes like a lot. And right now I buy new palettes, especially eyeshadow palettes. Like, this is honestly the product that I buy the most of, and I use the least number of repetitive times. So I do see myself using this palette a little bit more because it is more neutral and more everyday, but I do struggle with buying palettes and then using them 1 or 2 times and then it's on to the next, because there's already another palette that's come out and I'm on to the next thing and trying new palettes and everything like that. So I do want to try and use my existing palettes more. So if you'd like to see another video on this doing a completely different look, just let me know and I will film that for you. And that is it, you guys, for today's video. I really hope that you enjoyed this look and my review and swatches of the Huda Beauty New Nudes palette. If there's anything that you would like to see on my channel, please leave me a comment down below. I'm really looking for a lot of new ideas to film. I have a lot of new makeup, so if you want to see a full face of first impressions, or if you want to see reviews on specific items, please leave me a comment down below. I'd be happy to do that for you. If you liked this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up before you leave. And if you're new here, welcome. My name is Michaela. I would love to have you join the family, so make sure you hit that subscribe button before you leave. And as always, guys, if you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel and leave me a comment down below letting me know the kind of videos you want to see me do in the future. And if you didn't like this video, keep that shit to yourself. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.